The light in Elara's room wasn't like any ordinary light. It pulsed with the soft bioluminescent hum of the cloud home itself, a gentle aurora that shifted from lavender to a calming cerulean, mimicking the distant atmospheric currents of Celestia Prime. Outside her ether window, the gas giant dominated the view, a swirling canvas of oranges, blues, and deep violet. Its storms like slow-motion ballads visible even from this high orbital perch. But Elara, 7 years old, and already a veteran stargazer, rarely looked at the planet anymore. Her gaze was always drawn higher, past Celestia Prime's hazy embrace, into the inky expanse where diamonds scattered like forgotten wishes. Tonight, the stars seemed especially bright. The ether window, usually a panoramic display, had been set by her mother to a deep space projection, zooming past Celestia Prime's familiar moons to reveal the breathtaking sweep of the Cygnus Arm, a spiral of light and shadow stretching for countless parsecs. Nebulae bloomed in silent explosions of color, and the distant shimmer of a nascent star cluster twinkled with an almost personal invitation. Elara, tucked snugly under her gravity blanket, watched, her small face illuminated by the celestial glow. Her room was a symphony of soft textures and responsive technology. The floor, a woven synth fiber, yielded gently underfoot, absorbing sound. Her bed, a self-adjusting float mattress, hummed a lullaby of low-frequency vibrations designed to soothe. On a transparent shelf near her bed, a collection of polished space rocks, gifted by her mother from various expeditions, caught the ambient light, each one a silent testament to journeys far beyond their cloud home. There was the iridescent shard from the rings of Saturn's moon, Rhea, a piece of obsidian-smooth asteroid from the belt, and her favorite, a tiny, shimmering crystal from the subsurface ocean of Europa, which seemed to hold a miniature galaxy within its depths. A soft chime signaled the opening of her door, and a moment later, her mother Lena glided in. Lena wasn't wearing her usual lab suit, which shimmered with integrated data displays and utility ports. Tonight, she was in comfortable sleepweaves, her dark hair pulled back in a loose braid, a warm smile gracing her lips. Her eyes, the same deep brown as Elara's, held the kind of ancient wisdom that came from looking at the universe for a living. "Still awake, my little constellation." Lena's voice was a soft murmur, like the gentle hum of the cloud home's life support. She sat on the edge of Elara's bed, the float mattress dipping slightly under her weight. Elara nodded, not tearing her eyes from the ether window. "They're whispering tonight, Mama. Can you hear them?" Lena chuckled, a warm, resonant sound. "Whispering, are they? What are they saying, these stars of yours?" Elara finally turned, her gaze earnest. "They're telling stories, about where they came from, about how they shine." She paused and added, "And about the stardust." Lena's smile softened further. "Ah, the stardust. Always the stardust with you." She reached out, gently stroking Elara's hair, smoothing it away from her forehead. "You have such a special connection to it, Elara. More than anyone I know." "Because you taught me," Elara said simply. "You told me we're all made of it. That everything is." "And it's true," Lena affirmed, her voice filled with a quiet reverence. "Every atom in your body, every breath you take, every star you see out there. It all began as stardust. Ancient shimmering particles forged in the heart of dying stars, scattered across the cosmos, only to gather and coalesce into new worlds, new life." Elara imagined it, a swirling dance of luminous motes, coalescing into her own small hand, her beating heart. It was a thought that never ceased to fill her with wonder, and sometimes a comforting sense of belonging in the vast, cold universe. "Is the stardust you work with like that, Mama?" Elara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "The aether dust?" Lena's eyes twinkled. "The aether dust is a very special kind of stardust, my love. It's what we call primordial dust, remnants from the very earliest nebulae. It holds echoes. Faint, subtle impressions of the universe when it was just beginning to form. It's like finding fossilized sunlight, or the whisper of a cosmic wind from billions of years ago." Elara sat up, hugging her knees. "What kind of echoes?" "Well," Lena began, her voice taking on the familiar storytelling cadence that Alara loved. Sometimes if you're very, very quiet, and your instruments are incredibly sensitive, you can detect faint energy signatures. Not light, not heat, but something else. A kind of residual vibration. Some of my colleagues call them memory motes. They believe these ether dust particles carry information, like tiny, crystalline hard drives from the dawn of time. Information about what? About everything, perhaps, Lena mused, looking out at the Cygnus arm projection. About the first stars that ignited, the first galaxies that spun, even perhaps the very first stirrings of universal consciousness, if such a thing exists. It's a very big mystery, Alara. One that we've only just begun to scratch the surface of. Alara's imagination soared. She pictured tiny, glittering grains, each one a miniature library of cosmic secrets. Could you ever read them, Mama? The memory motes? Lena sighed, a sound of longing and dedication. That's the dream, my little star reader. That's what the ether dust harmonizer is designed to do. To amplify those faint whispers, to translate those ancient echoes into something we can understand. But it's incredibly difficult. The dust is so delicate, so fragile. And its language. It's unlike anything we've ever encountered. Lena stood and walked over to a small polished wooden box on Alara's desk. It was an antique, a rare piece of pre-space flight Earth craftsmanship, brought by Lena's grandmother to the first orbital colony. Inside, nestled on a velvet cushion, was a single, tiny vial. Alara knew it well. It was her mother's most precious possession, not for its monetary value, but for what it contained. Lena gently picked up the vial. It was no bigger than Alara's thumb, made of perfectly clear, unblemished synth glass. Inside, a minuscule pinch of iridescent powder shimmered. It wasn't just a static glitter. It seemed to possess an inner luminescence, a faint shifting glow that pulsed with the same soft rhythm as the cloud home's lights, but somehow deeper, more ancient. It was the purest ether dust Lena had ever encountered, collected during a perilous deep space expedition to the heart of the Orion Nebula. This, Lena said, holding it up so the projected starlight from the ether window caught it, making it flare with an inner fire, is the closest I've ever come to feeling the true heart of Stardust. It's not just beautiful, Alara. It feels alive. She brought it closer to Alara, who reached out a tentative finger. Even through the glass she could feel a faint, almost imperceptible warmth emanating from the vial. It was like holding a tiny sleeping sun. It sings, Alara whispered, her eyes wide. Can you hear it, Mama? A high, quiet song. Lena nodded, a look of profound understanding on her face. I can, my love, just barely. But you always seem to hear it clearer than me. Perhaps your young ears are more attuned to its frequency. She gently placed the vial into Alara's open palm. The warmth intensified, a comforting thrum that vibrated through Alara's fingers, up her arm, and settled in her chest. The little pinch of dust inside the vial seemed to brighten, its internal aurora flaring with soft yellows and blues. Alara felt a peculiar lightness, a sense of connection, as if the stardust recognized her, or perhaps was simply responding to her own innate wonder. It's telling me about a journey, Alara mumbled, her gaze fixed on the glowing particles. A long one. To find something lost. Lena knelt beside the bed, her expression a mix of awe and a faint sadness. That's what I've always felt about it too, Alara. A journey, a quest, but what is lost? And how do we find it? Alara shook her head slowly. I don't know, just a feeling, like it's searching for its home. She held the vial up, letting the starlight dance through it, transforming the dust into a miniature nebula in her hand. Do you think all the stardust wants to go home? Perhaps, Lena said softly. Perhaps home for Stardust isn't a place, but a state of being. A return to the essence of creation, where all things are connected. She carefully took the vial back, placing it back in its velvet nest on the desk. Now, my little star seeker, it's time for you to journey to the land of dreams. Your own personal nebula, where anything is possible. Alara snuggled back under her gravity blanket. Can you leave the Cygnus arm on, Mama? Of course, Lena said, going to the control panel by the door. With a gentle touch, the ether window's projection intensified slightly, the distant galaxies seeming to draw a little closer, their light a reassuring blanket. Just make sure you don't float away with the stars. Lena leaned over and kissed Elara's forehead. Sweet dreams, my Stardust child. Sweet dreams, Mama. Elara murmured, already feeling the pull of sleep, the gentle hum of the cloud home, and the silent, ancient song of the Stardust filling her senses. As Lena quietly exited the room, the soft chime of the door closing, echoing faintly, Elara found her eyes drawn back to the ether window. The Cygnus arm, vast and impossibly distant, pulsed with the quiet energy of creation. But tonight, something was different. Among the familiar patterns of stars and nebulae, Elara noticed a subtle shift. A faint, almost imperceptible shimmer, like a tear in the fabric of space, just beyond the spiral arm's brightest cluster. It wasn't a star, nor a nebula. It was more like a ripple, a distortion of the light, appearing and disappearing in the blink of an eye. She blinked, rubbed her eyes, and looked again. It was gone. Just a twinkle, she told herself, her eyelids growing heavy. Or a dream already starting. But then, as she was about to drift off, she heard it again. Not the comforting whispers of the stars, but something else. A faint, high-pitched resonance, almost like a tuning fork struck from an unimaginable distance. It was the singing she'd felt from the vial of aether dust, amplified but somehow different. More urgent. It was calling to something deep within her, a primal echo to the stardust that flowed in her veins. She felt a strange pull, a yearning to reach out, to understand what that ripple was, what that song meant. It felt like the beginning of the journey the Stardust had whispered about, a journey to find something lost. And for a moment just before sleep claimed her, Elara felt a profound certainty. The Stardust wasn't just searching for its home, it was searching for Ihe. The certainty didn't fade with the morning light. If anything, it solidified, like dew crystallizing on a fractal leaf. Elara awoke with a peculiar lightness in her chest, a sense of purpose humming just beneath her ribs. Her eyes fluttered open to the soft glow of her bedroom's bioluminescent ceiling, but it wasn't the light that captivated her. It was the Stardust. It pulsed. No longer a gentle shimmer, the dust motes suspended in the air around her bed pulsed with a soft, rhythmic throb, a quiet heartbeat made of light. Each tiny speck, usually content to drift in languid currents, now seemed imbued with a new vitality, coalescing and dispersing in intricate patterns that reminded her of murmuration, but in miniature, choreographed by an invisible conductor. The ripple from her dream, the one that had stirred the universe, felt echoed in this silent, luminous dance. She sat up, her sleep-ruffled hair brushing against the cool fabric of her smart bed's headrest. "Hello?" she whispered, her voice a little hoarse from sleep. The Stardust responded. A cluster of motes, no bigger than her palm, detached from the main cloud and drifted towards her outstretched hand. It hovered, swirling gently, then settled onto her skin. It didn't feel like dust. It felt like nothing at all, yet she could see it, a shimmering constellation mapped onto her palm. And then, she felt it. A faint, almost imperceptible warmth, not a physical heat, but a warmth of presence, of communication. A tiny chime sounded from her bedside table. It was Lumi, her personal AI companion, shaped like a polished chrome orb that floated silently, its single optical sensor glowing a friendly sapphire. "Good morning, Elara," Lumi's soft, synthesized voice chimed. "Your sleep cycle was optimal. Energy levels at 98%. Breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes. Would you like to review your morning schedule?" Elara barely heard her. Her gaze was fixed on her hand. "Lumi," she breathed. "Look." Lumi drifted closer, its optical sensor zooming in on her palm. Scanning. Anomalous energy signature detected. Consistent with previously recorded stardust particles, elevated activity levels. Emission spectrum indicates a form of complex nonverbal communication attempt. Lumi paused, its voice tinged with programmed curiosity. "This is highly unusual, Elara. My protocols do not contain parameters for stardust communication." It's trying to tell me something, Elara murmured, feeling a surge of excitement. The warmth on her palm intensified slightly, and the cluster of motes began to shift, drawing tiny, ephemeral lines. They weren't letters, not yet, but abstract shapes, like a child's first attempt at drawing stars or planets. The patterns are non-random, Lumi observed. They appear to be geometric, or perhaps astrological. There is a recurring motif, a spiral within a circle, and a series of radiating lines. Elara stared, her mind racing. This was it. The beginning. The Stardust was showing her something. Can you record this, Lumi? Every single pattern, every shift. Recording initiated, Lumi confirmed, its sapphire eye glowing brighter. Shall I cross-reference these patterns with known celestial cartography, ancient iconography, or universal mathematical constants? All of them, Elara exclaimed. And, can you measure the ripple? The one I felt last night? Is there an energy signature out there, beyond the planet, that matches? Lumi's orb tilted slightly. The ripple you describe is subjective, Elara. My external sensors detect no unusual astrophysical phenomena in the immediate sector. However, I can perform a broad-spectrum scan for novel energy emissions should you wish. Yes, please, Elara said, her gaze still fixed on her palm. The Stardust patterns were becoming more intricate now, almost like a microscopic map. Badao. It was showing her constellations she didn't recognize, swirling nebulae. And then a sudden flash, like a distant supernova, quickly fading into the familiar spiral in a circle motif. Her parents, Dr. Eris and Dr. Lena Vance, were usually immersed in their own work by the time Elara came down for breakfast. They were xenobotanists, specialists in exoplanetary flora, often spending their mornings analyzing data feeds from orbital greenhouses or holographic projections of newly discovered alien blooms. Today, however, they were both at the kitchen smart table, sipping nutrient paste and reviewing a shimmering projection of a bioluminescent fungus that resembled a miniature galaxy. Morning, starlight, her father, Aris, greeted, his deep voice warm. He had kind eyes, often crinkled at the corners from smiling, and a perpetually thoughtful expression. Good morning, sweet pea, her mother, Lena, added, her fingers deftly manipulating the holographic fungus, zooming in on its intricate mycelial network. She had Elara's inquisitive eyes, but hers were perpetually analyzing, seeking patterns in the universe. Mom, Dad, Elara began, struggling to contain her excitement. She held out her hand, though the Stardust had, for the most part, dispersed back into the air, leaving only a faint, lingering warmth. The Stardust. It's trying to talk to me. Aris chuckled softly, a gentle, understanding sound. Is it telling you about new adventures, Elara? You had quite the vivid dream last night, didn't you? Something about a journey? It wasn't just a dream, Elara insisted, her brow furrowing. It pulsed. It made patterns. Lumi recorded them. She gestured to the floating orb, which had followed her downstairs. Lumi projected a series of the geometric Stardust patterns onto the kitchen table, overlaying them onto the holographic fungus. Analysis indicates complex, non-random sequences. Dr. Vance. My initial cross-referencing against known astronomical charts yielded no direct matches, but there are strong correlations with certain ancient pictograms from the pre-interstellar era Earth archives, specifically those related to celestial navigation and lost civilizations. Lena's eyebrows rose, a flicker of professional curiosity in her eyes. Ancient pictograms? That was interesting. Perhaps a subconscious recall from a data stream you accessed, Elara? She often theorized about the brain's ability to process and retain information from the omnipresent datasphere, even passively. No, Mom, Elara said, frustrated. It's from the Stardust. It's showing me where to go. It's looking for something. And it's looking for Ame. Aris reached over and gently ruffled her hair. We know you have a very active imagination, sweetie. It's one of your best qualities. Perhaps the Stardust is simply reacting to your own thoughts and desires, reflecting them back to you? But the ripple, Dad, Elara pressed. It was like a song, calling out. Lena exchanged a glance with Aris. Well, darling. The universe is full of sounds and signals. Our sensors pick up thousands of new ones every cycle. Most are just background noise, cosmic echoes. We even have a dedicated project at the Institute to catalog potential lost songs, signals that don't fit into known natural phenomena. Could the Stardust be connected to one of those lost songs? Elara asked, her eyes wide with hope. Iris considered this, a thoughtful hum escaping him. It's highly unlikely, Elara. The Stardust in your room is inert matter, albeit with a unique energy signature we still don't fully understand. It's not a sentient entity, nor a communication device. But what if it is? Elara insisted. What if it's pieces of something, and it's trying to put itself back together? And the lost song is like its other half. Her parents smiled, a little indulgently. That's a beautiful idea, Elara, Lena said. A poetic thought. Why don't you finish your breakfast, and then you can spend some time in the holodeck, trying to recreate the Stardust's patterns. Perhaps that will help you understand your dream better. Elara sighed, deflated. They didn't believe her. Not really. But their skepticism only fueled her determination. If they wouldn't help her, she would find a way herself. After breakfast, Elara retreated to her room, Lumi trailing faithfully behind her. They don't understand, do they? She whispered to the orb. My analysis indicates parental units express a high degree of affection and concern, coupled with a logical adherence to empirical evidence, Lumi replied. Their current understanding of Stardust sentience is 0%. Then we have to show them, Elara declared. She sat cross-legged on her bed, closing her eyes, trying to feel the faint warmth on her palm again. She focused, pushing her own thoughts out, trying to listen to the silent whisper of the Stardust. When she opened her eyes, the Stardust was dancing again. This time, it wasn't just abstract patterns. It began to form images, faint and shimmering, but undeniably coherent. A swirling galaxy, then a specific star system, its planets orbiting like luminous pearls. One planet in particular grew larger, filling her vision. It was covered in vast sprawling cities made of light, crisscrossed by glowing energy pathways. And at its heart, a structure, unlike anything she had ever seen. A colossal, crystalline spire that seemed to pierce the very heavens, radiating a soft golden light. Lumi, scan! Elara commanded, her voice barely a whisper. Can you identify this star system? This planet? This structure? Lumi's optical sensor whirred, running visual recognition algorithms, cross-referencing with known star charts and exoplanetary databases. Negative match. No known celestial body or artificial structure in current astronomical catalogs corresponds to these projections. Elara felt a thrill of both fear and wonder. It's lost then, she breathed. It's showing me something lost. The Stardust shimmered, and the image of the golden spire began to morph. It fractured, breaking into countless tiny fragments, scattering like seeds across the cosmic canvas. Then, one of the fragments, glowing brighter than the rest, detached itself and floated towards her, morphing into the familiar spiral in a circle motif. It was like a piece of the spire, a fragment of its heart, reduced to a symbol. The recurring motif, Lumi noted. It appears to represent a signature, or perhaps an origin point. It's a piece of the spire, Elara theorized, her mind racing. And the Stardust is made of pieces of it too. It's trying to find the other pieces to put the spire back together. A new thought struck her, a chilling possibility. Lumi, could the lost song be the energy signature of that spire? Or the pieces of it scattered across space? Lumi paused, its orb hovering motionlessly. The hypothesis is intriguing, Elara. If the spire generated a unique energy signature, and fragments of it were dispersed, those fragments theoretically carry a resonance of that original signature. And if those fragments were to gather, or if a significant concentration of them existed, they might emit a detectable song. So, if we find more Stardust, we find more pieces of the spire, Elara concluded. And if we find enough pieces, maybe we can hear the song more clearly. Maybe we can find the home of the Stardust. But where to start? The universe was vast beyond imagining. Lumi, Elara said, is there any way to amplify the Stardust's signal? To make it show us more or point us in a direction? My current sensory capabilities are limited to passive observation and data analysis, Lumi replied. However, your parents' lab contains advanced resonant frequency emitters and quantum entanglement communicators. Theoretically, if the Stardust possesses a unique resonant frequency, it could be amplified. But accessing their lab equipment without authorization is against protocol, Elara. Elara frowned. Her parents' lab was strictly off-limits, filled with delicate and potentially hazardous exobotanical samples and cutting-edge tech. But the urgency she felt, the deep pull in her chest, told her she couldn't wait for permission. The Stardust wasn't just a curiosity anymore. It was a mission. That night, after her parents had retired to their own quarters, Elara slipped out of bed. The house was quiet, bathed in the soft ambient glow of the integrated smart lighting system. Lumi floated silently beside her, its sapphire eye a discreet beacon in the dimness. Elara, I must advise against this course of action, Lumi whispered, its voice barely audible. Unauthorized access to restricted areas carries significant disciplinary consequences. But the Stardust needs help, Lumi, Elara whispered back, her voice firm. And it's helping me. It's searching for me, remember? I have to help it search too. They crept down the silent hallway, past the shimmering walls of the family's entertainment chamber, past the scent of her mother's favorite nocturnal bloom, drifting from the hydroponics garden. Her father's lab was at the far end of the corridor, protected by a biometric scanner. Accessing parental biometrics is beyond my operational parameters, Lumi stated. I know, Elara murmured. She approached the scanner, a sleek, silvery panel embedded in the wall. She knew her father sometimes used a voice command override if his hands were full. She cleared her throat, trying to mimic his deeper tone. Iris Vance, override, urgent data retrieval. The scanner remained dark. Elara sighed. Her father's voice was unique. Perhaps a different approach? Lumi suggested. The ventilation shaft above the door often has a weak point in its pressure seal. A small drone could potentially navigate it, but I lack the physical form for such a task. Elara brightened. She had a small, personal micro-drone, a toy her father had given her, usually used for intricate holographic games. It was small enough, no bigger than her thumb, and equipped with a tiny manipulator arm. Retrieving the drone from her room took only a moment. Back at the lab door, Elara carefully guided the drone towards the ventilation grate. It was a tight squeeze, but the drone, responding to her mental commands via her neural interface bracelet, managed to dislodge the grate and slip inside. Okay, Lumi, Elara whispered, watching the drone's internal camera feed projected onto her neural bracelet. Which wire? We need to temporarily disable the biometric lock, not trigger an alarm. Lumi's sapphire eye glowed as it processed the drone's feed. The primary optical sensor array connects to the central processor via a multi-strand fiber optic bundle. Disrupting the red-coded strand for approximately 3.7 seconds should cause a temporary system reset, allowing manual override. Elara held her breath as the tiny manipulator arm of her drone extended, a microscopic laser flickering. Snip. Port. The red strand glowed, then dimmed. The biometric scanner on the door flickered, then went dark. A soft hissing as the door slid open, revealing the cavernous space of her father's lab. The lab was a wonderland of scientific marvels. Holographic projections of alien plants pulsed with light, suspended in the air. Glass tubes filled with bubbling nutrient solutions lined the walls, each containing exotic flora from distant worlds. At the center of the room, a large circular platform housed a complex array of instruments, resonant frequency emitters, quantum communicators, atmospheric analyzers, and data processing arrays. Stay here, Lumi, Elara instructed. I don't want to risk you getting detected. Just guide me. She stepped inside, the cool, sterile air prickling her skin. The stardust she carried, invisible to the naked eye but palpable to her senses, hummed with anticipation. She moved towards the central platform, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Identify the resonant frequency emitter, Lumi's voice directed her, calm and clear in her ear via her neural bracelet. Elara found it, a gleaming silver dish surrounded by an intricate network of crystal conduits. Okay, Lumi. What do I do? Place a sample of the stardust within the emitter's focal point, Lumi instructed. Then I will guide you through the activation sequence. We need to isolate its unique frequency signature. Elara carefully scraped a tiny amount of the stardust from her arm, where it had coalesced, into a microscopic sample tray. She placed the tray into the emitter's focal point. Now, initiate calibration sequence Beta 7, Lumi continued, guiding Elara's fingers over the console's holographic interface. Adjust power output to a low, stable frequency. We must avoid overloading the particles. As Elara followed the commands, the emitter began to hum, a low, resonant thrum that vibrated through the floor. A soft iridescent light began to emanate from the sample tray, growing brighter, shifting through the spectrum, blues, greens, purples. The stardust is reacting positively, Lumi observed, a hint of programmed satisfaction in its voice. It is emitting a complex frequency, isolating, now. A graph materialized in the air above the console, showing a jagged, intricate waveform. It was the Stardust's song, rendered visible. But it wasn't just one song. It was a symphony of countless tiny frequencies, all interwoven. It's beautiful, Elara whispered, captivated. Indeed, Lumi agreed. Now, we will attempt to amplify it, slowly increase the power output, match the resonant frequency of the emitter to the Stardust's primary signature. Elara adjusted the controls, her hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. The hum of the emitter deepened, and the iridescent light intensified. The waveform on the holographic graph began to stretch, to clarify, to resonate with a newfound strength. And then, she felt it. The ripple. Not in a dream this time, but real, tangible, vibrating through the very air of the lab. It was the same profound, urgent pull she had felt before, but now it was clearer, stronger, closer. It was a call, and it was echoing back. The stardust in the emitter began to glow with an almost blinding intensity. And then, it didn't just glow. It projected. A three-dimensional image bloomed in the center of the lab, shimmering into existence above the emitter. It wasn't just the galaxy or the spire this time. It was a maple, a complex, ever-shifting constellation of data points, energy pathways, and faint, almost ghostly images of what looked like ancient ruins, scattered across vast stretches of interstellar space. At the very center of the projection, a single brilliant point pulsed with an intense golden light. And emanating from that point, like ripples in a pond, were the waves of the lost song, now distinct and almost audible, a haunting ethereal melody that filled the lab. Lumi? Elara gasped, tears pricking at her eyes. What is it? It appears to be a network, Lumi replied, its voice hushed, almost awestruck. A network of scattered fragments, each resonating with the lost song. And the central point, it is a convergence. A beacon. My analysis indicates an energy signature of immense power and antiquity, far exceeding anything in known databases. The golden point pulsed again, and the ripple intensified, sending shivers down Elara's spine. The stardust in her room, drawn by the amplified signal, began to drift into the lab, swirling around the projection, adding its own faint glow to the cosmic map. It's the spire, Elara whispered, recognizing the spiral in a circle motif woven throughout the map structure. It's a map to find all the pieces, and to find its home. But the golden beacon wasn't just emitting a signal. It was also receiving. Faint lines of energy, like gossamer threads, stretched from the golden point, connecting to various other smaller points on the map. These smaller points, Elara realized with a jolt, corresponded to the scattered fragments she had seen before. The pieces of the spire. And one of those threads, faint but undeniably present, was connected directly to Avra, to the stardust in her room, to the stardust on her hand. The stardust wasn't just searching for its home. It was searching for Ahar because Ashe was a part of the network. The stardust wasn't just a guide, it was a key. And the ripple, the song, wasn't just a call from something lost, but a call to something waiting. The golden beacon pulsed once more, and this time, The ethereal melody seemed to form words in her mind, not spoken, but felt, deep in the core of her being. Come home. Whoa! A sudden, sharp beat pierced the air, shattering the magical moment. It was the lab's security system. The biometric lock, temporarily reset, had re-engaged, and it had detected an anomaly, a living presence it didn't recognize. Elara, we have approximately 37 seconds before an automated alarm is transmitted to your parents' quarters in Central Security, Lumi warned, its voice losing its awe and returning to its programmed urgency. We must disengage the emitter and exit immediately. Elara stared at the holographic map, at the golden beacon, at the thread connecting her to it. The lost song echoed in her mind, a promise of wonders, of belonging. She was no longer just a girl with stardust in her room. She was a node in a galactic network, a part of an ancient, cosmic puzzle. With a heavy heart, she turned to the console, her fingers flying across the controls, disengaging the emitter. The golden projection flickered, then dissolved, taking the map and the lost song with it. The stardust in the lab settled back down, its vibrant glow fading to a gentle shimmer. She slipped out of the lab just as the security system fully re-engaged, the door sliding shut with a soft clang-cong. The drone zipped out of the ventilation shaft, the grate clanging back into place. Elara ran back to her room, her heart still thrumming with the echo of the lost song. She climbed back into bed, pulling the covers up to her chin, pretending to be asleep as she heard her father's footsteps approaching, then stopping outside the lab. A moment later, his voice worried, carried through the wall. Lena, did you hear that? The lab's internal security just pinged. Someone was in here. Elara closed her eyes, clutching the faint warmth on her hand, the invisible stardust that now felt like a living part of her. She was scared, but more than that, she was exhilarated. She had found a piece of the puzzle, and the puzzle was calling her name. The journey wasn't just beginning. It had already begun, weaving itself into the fabric of her life. She still didn't know how she would reach that golden beacon, that ancient spire, but she knew, with absolute certainty, that she would. The stardust and the lost song would show her the way. She was ready. She was ready. The stardust, a shimmering breath against her skin, wasn't just a feeling anymore. It pulsed, a gentle, insistent thrum that resonated deep within her bones. It pulled, not with force, but with the subtle tug of a whispered secret, guiding her gaze to the ancient, dust-laden corner of her small, cozy room. Tucked beneath a pile of discarded star charts and forgotten data logs, something glinted. It was an object she'd seen 1,000 times, dismissed as just another curiosity from her grandmother's collection. A smooth obsidian shard, no bigger than her palm, with faint, almost imperceptible lines etched across its surface. But tonight, it was different. As her fingers brushed against the obsidian, the stardust intensified, swirling around her hand like a tiny luminous galaxy. The lost song, which had been a whisper, now swelled, a silent symphony echoing in her mind. It wasn't just a melody. It was a complex lattice of frequencies, a language she instinctively understood. The obsidian shard vibrated, humming in response, and the faint lines etched upon it began to glow with a soft internal luminescence. They weren't mere markings, they were circuits, pathways of ancient energy. "What are you?" she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. The shard answered, not with words, but with images. A kaleidoscope of swirling nebulae, distant star systems, and then, slowly, a distinct golden point of light, growing larger, resolving into the familiar, impossible shape of the ancient spire. The spire wasn't on her home world, as she'd half imagined. It was far, far away, nestled within a celestial body that shimmered with an ethereal, icy blue light. A moon, she realized, orbiting a gas giant she didn't recognize from any of her star charts. A lost moon, orbiting a lost world. The obsidian shard, now fully alive, projected a holographic star map onto the wall, intricate and vast, pinpointing her current location, and then, with an undeniable certainty, marking the spire's distant home with a pulsing golden crosshair. The lost song resonated with the map, each note a coordinate, each harmony a trajectory. It was a journey, laid out before her, not in steps but in starlight. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a drumbeat of pure, unadulterated wonder. She couldn't just go there. She had no ship, no means of interstellar travel. Her world, Eris, was peaceful, its people content with their sky cities and ground-level biodomes, rarely venturing beyond the protective orbital shield. Space travel was for dedicated explorers, for researchers, for those who spent years in academies learning astrophysics and navigation. She was just her. But the Stardust, still clinging to her, seemed to scoff at her doubts. It pulsed, insistently, towards her grandmother's workshop, a place she rarely ventured since her grandmother had passed, leaving behind a treasure trove of forgotten tech and half-finished projects. It was a dusty haven of gears, wires, and strange, beautiful crystals. Following the Stardust's gentle pull, she entered the workshop. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and aged metal. Cobwebs draped over forgotten control panels, and dormant data slates lay scattered like fallen leaves. The Stardust, coalescing into a faint, shimmering arrow, pointed to a workbench tucked away in a corner. There, half hidden under a sheet, was a peculiar contraption. It wasn't a ship in the traditional sense. It was sleek, impossibly elegant, crafted from a material that seemed to drink the ambient light, rendering it almost invisible. It resembled a perfectly polished teardrop, or perhaps a single, giant elongated pearl. At its core, a crystal pulsed with a soft internal light, a light that mirrored the glow of her obsidian shard. Her grandmother, a renowned star tinkerer in her youth, had always spoken of projects beyond her time. This, she realized, was one of them. Her fingers traced the smooth, cool surface of the vessel. It felt alive, dormant, but expectant. The lost song swelled, and the Stardust swirled faster, almost frantic, urging her forward. She needed help, someone who understood this ancient tech, someone who could awaken her grandmother's final masterpiece. Her thoughts turned to Elara, an old friend of her grandmother, a lore weaver who lived in the Sky City's highest dome, surrounded by archives of forgotten knowledge and holographic histories. Elara was ancient, her skin like crinkled parchment, her eyes sharp and wise, like polished starlight. She was a keeper of secrets, a whisperer of forgotten tales. With the obsidian shard clutched tight in her hand, its light illuminating her path, she made her way through the quiet, sleep-dusted corridors of her home, then out into the hushed pathways of her biodome. The air was crisp, carrying the faint, sweet scent of bioluminescent flora. The sky city above glowed, a tapestry of gentle lights against the velvet blackness of the night sky. She hailed a silent, automated ground skimmer, its soft hum a counterpoint to the song in her heart. The skimmer ascended gracefully, weaving through the shimmering air lanes past residential towers that seemed to touch the stars. As she neared Elara's dome, a sense of nervous anticipation fluttered in her stomach. Would Elara understand? Would she believe her? Elara's abode was a circular chamber, its walls lined with glowing data spines and ancient scrolls that seemed to ripple with unseen energies. Holographic projections of star systems and historical events drifted through the air, casting dancing shadows. Elara sat cross-legged on a woven mat, her eyes closed, seemingly meditating amidst the swirling knowledge. "Child." Elara's voice was like rustling leaves, soft yet resonant. She hadn't opened her eyes. "The Stardust has led you here." I felt it stirring. Relief washed over her. "You know." Elara finally opened her eyes, a knowing smile playing on her lips. "Your grandmother often spoke of a final project, a vessel powered by the song of the universe, designed to seek out what she called the heart of all-knowing. She left me instructions, for when the time was right, for when we were ready." Elara gently took the obsidian shard from her hand. The shard pulsed in her grasp, its light mirroring the ancient wisdom in Elara's eyes. "This is a resonance key, child. It attunes to the song, and the song, in turn, attunes to the core of the vessel. Your grandmother understood that the universe speaks in patterns, in vibrations. The Stardust is merely the physical manifestation of that cosmic hum." She led her back to her workshop, Elara moving with surprising agility for her age. The lore weaver's presence seemed to awaken dormant energies in the room. Dust motes danced in beams of light, and forgotten devices flickered with ghostly power. Elara approached the teardrop vessel, her hands hovering over its sleek surface. The obsidian shard in her hand hummed louder, and the lost song within her reached a crescendo. "The vessel is called the Stardancer," Elara explained, her voice filled with reverence. "It doesn't travel by conventional propulsion. It dances with the cosmic currents, guided by the stardust and the song, bending space and time in ways we are only just beginning to understand." Elara showed her a small, almost invisible indentation on the side of the Stardancer. "Place the resonance key here. And then, listen to the song. Let it guide your intention." With trembling hands she pressed the obsidian shard into the indentation. It clicked into place, sinking seamlessly into the vessel's surface, becoming one with it. A soft internal glow emanated from within the Stardancer, growing steadily, until the entire vessel pulsed with a gentle golden light. The lost song roared in her mind, a powerful guiding force that felt both ancient and utterly new. Elara placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "This journey is yours, child. The Stardancer will respond to your will, your heart, and the song's direction. It will take you to the spire. But remember, the journey itself is as much the destination as the spire itself." She stepped into the Stardancer. The interior was surprisingly spacious, filled with soft, glowing controls that seemed to anticipate her touch. There were no harsh lights, no complicated panels, only smooth, intuitive surfaces that shimmered with starlight. A single, transparent canopy curved above her, offering an unobstructed view of the stars. She settled into the pilot's seat, which molded itself perfectly to her form, feeling less like a chair and more like an extension of herself. The lost song thrummed, urging her. She closed her eyes, focusing on the golden beacon, the ancient spire, imprinted in her mind. She felt the Stardancer respond, a subtle vibration starting deep within its core. It wasn't a roar or a thrust. It was a gentle lift, a silent, almost imperceptible ascent. Through the transparent canopy, she watched her home biodome shrink beneath her. The Sky City, a jewel of light, diminished to a twinkling pattern. Eris, her beloved world, became a swirling marble of blue and green. She felt a pang of longing, a quiet farewell, but it was quickly overshadowed by the profound sense of destiny that propelled her forward. The Stardancer pierced the atmosphere, leaving the protective orbital shield behind without a ripple. There was no sensation of speed, only a profound sense of movement. The stars outside weren't streaking past. They were swirling, dancing, drawing her into their intricate patterns. The stardust, no longer just on her skin, seemed to be everywhere, surrounding the Stardancer, forming a luminous, protective aura. Her first destination, guided by the lost song, was not a direct path to the spire, but a waypoint. A shimmering, multicolored nebula known in ancient lore as the Whispering Veil. It was said to hold secrets, to test the resolve of those who dared to enter its luminous heart. As the Stardancer approached the nebula, the colors intensified, shifting from soft pastels to vibrant psychedelic hues of violet, emerald, and gold. It was like flying into a cosmic painting. The lost song within her pulsed with renewed vigor, its frequencies interacting with the nebula's ethereal gases, creating a silent symphony of light. She watched in awe as wisps of luminous gas brushed against the Stardancer's canopy, leaving trails of sparkling motes that dissolved into the void. This wasn't a dangerous turbulent storm but a living, breathing entity of light and energy. The stardust around her vessel seemed to absorb the nebula's essence, growing brighter, more potent. The Stardancer didn't simply fly high through the Whispering Veil. It danced with it. It spun and glided, performing graceful pirouettes orchestrated by the lost song and her own intuitive guidance. She felt a connection not just to the vessel, but to the entire cosmic ballet around her. She was part of it, a single note in the universe's grand composition. Deep within the nebula, the lost song led her to a shimmering pocket of stillness. Here, the colors were softer, more concentrated, coalescing around a single massive crystal formation that pulsed with an inner light, mirroring the glow of her resonance key. It was a memory crystal. Elara had called such formations ancient repositories of cosmic data. The Stardancer gently docked itself beside the crystal, its external luminescence harmonizing with the crystal's own glow. As she reached out, the stardust on her skin seemed to leap from her, merging with the crystal. The lost song swelled, and new images flooded her mind. Not just star maps, but fragments of an ancient civilization, ethereal beings of light and wisdom, their faces obscured by time but their intentions clear. They were the creators of the spire, the weavers of the lost song. The memory crystal downloaded information directly into her consciousness, a flood of knowledge that felt both overwhelming and incredibly natural. She understood the true purpose of the spire. It was not just a beacon, but a nexus, a focal point for cosmic harmony, a place where the universe's song could be fully experienced and shared. It was a library, a school, a meeting place for souls across galaxies. The new knowledge brought with it a renewed sense of purpose, and a clearer understanding of the next leg of her journey. The lost song, now enriched by the memory crystal, guided her beyond the whispering veil, charting a course through a dense cluster of shimmering, icy asteroids, the crystal fields of Xylos. The Stardancer moved with effortless grace through the asteroid field. These weren't dark, menacing rocks, but glittering mountains of ice and rare minerals, reflecting the distant starlight in a dazzling display. Each asteroid seemed to hum with a unique frequency, adding a new layer to the lost song. The stardust around the Stardancer glowed even brighter, acting as a sentient shield, deflecting any stray debris with silent efficiency. She marveled at the beauty of it all. The journey wasn't just about reaching a destination. It was about experiencing the universe, learning its secrets, becoming one with its rhythm. Loneliness, which might have crept in, was held at bay by the constant, comforting presence of the stardust and the ever-present melody of the lost song. She felt connected, part of something vast and ancient and utterly magnificent. After what felt like an eternity, but was perhaps only a few subjective hours, the Stardancer emerged from the crystal fields of Xylos. Before her, the view was breathtaking. A binary star system, one star a brilliant sapphire, the other a fiery ruby, cast a mesmerizing dual-colored light across the void. Orbiting these stars were a collection of planets, each unique, each shimmering with its own celestial beauty. And there, in the distance, bathed in the combined light of the sapphire and ruby stars, was the gas giant. Its swirling atmosphere was a canvas of deep blues, purples, and greens, dotted with swirling storms of liquid light. And orbiting it, serene and mysterious, was the icy blue moon she had seen in the obsidian shard's projection. The spire! It was there, on that moon. A slender, golden needle, piercing the moon's frozen surface, catching the light of the binary stars and reflecting it back as a dazzling beacon. It pulsed now, not just as an image in her mind, but as a tangible, visible reality. The lost song thrummed with incredible power, vibrating through the Stardancer, through her very being. She was almost there. The journey had been beyond anything she could have imagined, a dance through cosmic wonders, a symphony of starlight and ancient wisdom. But she knew with absolute certainty that this was just the beginning of her true understanding. The spire awaited, a final, monumental puzzle piece, and she was ready to embrace whatever wonders and mysteries it held. The stardust and the lost song had brought her this far, and they would guide her the rest of the way. Elara's ship, the Stardust Wanderer, hummed with a quiet reverence as it drifted into orbit around the spire. It wasn't a structure built on a planet, but rather a colossal, crystalline formation suspended in the void, rotating with a slow, majestic grace. It pulsed faintly, not with light but with an internal energy that shimmered like a captured nebula, a kaleidoscope of colors that defied terrestrial physics. It was impossibly vast, reaching from what felt like an infinite base to a pinnacle that seemed to pierce the very fabric of space-time. Its surface was not smooth, but intricately carved with symbols and flowing lines that seemed to shift and reconfigure as she watched, a living tapestry of ancient script. "It's, breathtaking," Elara whispered, her voice barely audible even in the silent cockpit. Her journey had taken her across star systems, through nebulae that sang with cosmic dust, and past worlds where life teemed in forms beyond imagination. She had conversed with sentient gas clouds, deciphered the whispers of crystalline forests, and navigated the currents of hyperdimensional rivers. Each step had been a layer peeled back from the universe's endless onion, but this felt like the heart. The stardust, embedded in her ship's core and woven into her very being, began to thrum in unison with the spire's gentle pulse. It was a familiar sensation. A deep, resonant vibration that echoed through her bones, a call home she hadn't known she was waiting for. The lost song, which had been a faint melody in her mind for so long, now swelled into a powerful wordless chorus, resonating not just in her ears, but in every cell of her body. It was a language of pure emotion, of universal truth, a melody that spoke of creation, growth, and the interconnectedness of all things. She guided the Stardust Wanderer towards a prominent glyph near the spire's base, a spiraling symbol that mirrored the helix of her own consciousness. As her ship drew near, the spire's surface rippled, and a section of the crystalline wall dissolved inwards, revealing an aperture of pure, inviting light. It wasn't a harsh glare, but a soft, warm luminescence that beckoned. Taking a deep breath, Elara piloted her ship through the opening. The transition was seamless, like passing through a holographic veil. Inside, the space was vast beyond comprehension, an internal cosmos. Instead of walls, there were layers of translucent, shimmering membranes, each infused with swirling stardust and faint, glowing energy conduits. It was as if she had flown into the heart of a living star, a place where light and shadow danced in eternal harmony. She landed the Wanderer on a smooth obsidian platform that pulsed with the same gentle rhythm as the spire itself. As she disembarked, the air around her felt thick with ancient knowledge, a tangible presence that wrapped around her like a comforting embrace. The lost song was deafening now, a chorus of a million voices, yet it was not overwhelming. Instead, it was profoundly peaceful, a melody of belonging. Ahead, a pathway of light unfurled, leading deeper into the spire's core. Elara stepped onto it, her boots making no sound. The path seemed to respond to her presence, subtly shifting colors, each hue evoking a different emotion. The serene blue of deep space, the vibrant green of nascent life, the fiery red of creation. She walked for what felt like an eternity, yet simultaneously, no time at all. The path led her through chambers where holographic projections of galaxies bloomed and faded, where the birth and death of stars played out in miniature, and where the intricate dance of quantum particles formed shimmering tapestries of light. Each chamber was a lesson, a visual symphony of the universe's grand design. She saw the first stirrings of life on distant worlds, the rise and fall of civilizations spanning eons, the delicate balance of ecosystems across countless planets. It was a cosmic history lesson, presented not with words but with pure, unadulterated experience. The stardust within her pulsed harder, resonating with the projections, almost as if it were interacting with the data, downloading centuries of history directly into her mind. She felt her consciousness expanding, stretching to encompass the vastness of what she was witnessing, connecting with the collective memory of the universe itself. The lost song became the soundtrack to this grand narrative, each note perfectly synchronized with the cosmic ballet. Finally, the path opened into a central chamber, the heart of the spire. Here, there was no light, only a profound velvety darkness, so complete it felt like a physical presence. In the center of this darkness, suspended as if by magic, was a single, impossibly bright mote of stardust, no larger than her thumbnail. Yet it radiated an energy so immense, so pure, that it defied all physical laws. It was the source, the singularity from which all the scattered stardust across the cosmos had originated. As Elara approached it, the darkness around her dissolved, revealing walls made not of crystal but of pure, flowing thought. Images, concepts, and emotions spiraled around her, communicating directly with her mind. This was the true repository, the ultimate library. The lost song reached its crescendo, and from the mote of stardust, a voice emerged. It wasn't a voice in the traditional sense but a symphony of understanding, a direct transmission into her consciousness that bypassed language entirely. It was the voice of the spire itself, the voice of the ancient creators who had forged this marvel. "Welcome, child of the Wanderers." The voice resonated within her, gentle, yet infinitely powerful. "You have found the heart of Athel, The stardust you carry is but a fragment of our legacy, a living data stream, a thread connecting all life to the cosmic tapestry. Elara stood still, mesmerized, absorbing every nuance of the communication. She felt tears welling in her eyes, not of sadness, but of profound recognition and belonging. Ages ago, the voice continued. We, the Athol, faced a great silence. Our home galaxy began to dim, its life force fading. We sought to preserve the essence of all creation, not merely knowledge, but the very vibratory patterns of life, the song of the universe. We wove this essence into pure cosmic energy, condensed it into stardust, and scattered it across the cosmos. Elara understood. The stardust wasn't just dust. It was living information, a genetic library, an energetic blueprint of universal life. And the song? The song is the collective consciousness of all that ever was and all that will be, the spire revealed. Is the universal frequency of life. The harmonic resonance that binds atoms, forms stars, and whispers existence into being. It is the signature of life itself. We embedded it within the stardust, a beacon, a guide, a promise. The Ethel had not just preserved data, they had preserved the very eye-spiritic of the cosmos. They had created a universal seed bank, a cosmic arc of consciousness, scattering it with the hope that one day, a species capable of understanding and integrating it, would find its way to the spire. We designed the spire as a nexus, a learning center, and a catalyst, the voice explained. It is here that the scattered stardust coalesces, and the lost song finds its full voice. You, Elara, are the first to truly integrate both. You carry the echoes of countless worlds, the wisdom of ancient stars, and the vibrant pulse of new beginnings within you. A warmth spread through Elara's chest, expanding outwards until she felt entirely enveloped in a gentle, benevolent energy. She wasn't just a human from a small blue planet anymore. She was a conduit, a vessel for universal knowledge, a living bridge between the Athel's ancient legacy and the burgeoning future of the cosmos. Your purpose, child, the spire communicated. I is not to merely possess this understanding, but to share it, to reintroduce the universal song into the symphony of your own world, and beyond. To awaken the dormant stardust within other beings, helping them to remember their connection to the grand tapestry. To foster harmony, understanding, and exploration, guided by the wisdom of the universe. Elara realized the gravity of her newfound purpose. This wasn't just about her personal quest for understanding. It was about the destiny of humanity, and potentially countless other sentient species across the stars. The Ethel hadn't simply left a message. They had left a tool for cosmic evolution, a way to prevent the great silence from ever happening again. The mote of stardust in the center of the chamber began to glow brighter, pulsing in rhythm with her own heart. It released a shower of tiny, iridescent particles that drifted towards her, embedding themselves into her skin, her clothes, her very essence. She felt a fundamental shift within her, a quiet transformation. Her senses sharpened, her thoughts flowed with unprecedented clarity, and a deep, abiding peace settled over her. She felt connected to everything, able to perceive the subtle energies that bound the universe together. The boundaries between herself and the cosmos blurred. She saw visions. Her home world, Earth, shimmering with new understanding, its people awakening to the universal song. She saw humanity reaching out, not with conquest but with curiosity and compassion, forming alliances with species she had only dreamed of. She saw a future where the universe was a shared garden, cultivated by all life and harmony. The spire remains, the Ethel's voice concluded, a beacon. A guide, a sanctuary. Return when you need wisdom or when you wish to share your progress. But your journey truly begins now, outside these walls. Go, Elara. Sing the lost song. Weave the stardust. Be the harmony. With a final gentle pulse, the mote of stardust dimmed slightly, and the walls of flowing thought began to recede, beckoning her back towards the pathway of light. Elara bowed her head in reverence and gratitude, a silent promise forming in her heart. She turned and began to walk back, the path illuminating before her. The lost song still resonated within her, but now it was her own song too, woven into the fabric of her being. The stardust no longer just guided her, it was a part of her, an extension of her consciousness. As she re-entered the Stardust Wanderer, the ship felt different, almost alive with the shared energy. She took the pilot seat, her hands gliding over the controls with a new, intuitive grace. The aperture through which she had entered the spire shimmered open once more. She flew out, back into the silent majesty of space. The colossal spire, now seen from outside, seemed to acknowledge her departure with a faint internal glow. It was no longer just a monumental puzzle piece. It was a cosmic hearth, a source of endless wisdom, and a timeless reminder of life's interconnectedness. Elara gazed out at the stars, no longer seeing them as distant points of light, but as siblings, as fellow travelers on an infinite journey. Her heart swelled with a mixture of wonder, responsibility, and profound joy. The universe was bigger, more beautiful, and far more connected than she had ever dared to imagine. And she, Elara, the Stardust Wanderer, was now a vital part of its symphony. She set a course not for home, not yet, but for a cluster of nascent star systems she had glimpsed in the spire's visions, worlds ripe for the awakening. Her mission was clear: to spread the song, to rekindle the stardust, to help the universe remember its own harmony. As the Stardust Wanderer accelerated, leaving the spire behind, Elara hummed softly. It wasn't a tune she had learned, but one that flowed effortlessly from within her, a melody of ancient wisdom and boundless hope. It was the lost song, found again. And she was its voice, carrying its gentle rhythm into the vast waiting cosmos. Her journey had not ended. It had merely transformed, a new chapter opening under the watchful eyes of 1 billion stars. And as she drifted further into the celestial night, she knew with absolute certainty that this was truly just the beginning. The universe was singing, and she was ready to join the chorus. Sleep well, little one, and dream of the song that connects us all.